Right. So we are gonna be talking a little bit more about well, Spain, the Ceuta fallout, like updates from it, because it's kind of been on the main agenda for our European leaders apparently. And I will say we're going to talk about some specifics, sure, as relevant, but I also really want to focus on the fact that you know what we saw happening and the insane reaction by the not just European right, but like in the United States, everything in Israel. It is a you know it fits into the larger goals and plans that the right wing has, right? Because um migration really is like the most normal shit ever in like any society and economy, especially nowadays when we have really developed economies. You have aging populations. Migration is just like a really neat way to address a lot of these issues, and fill gaps in the economy as it develops, right? So that's one thing, right? That's just how I see migration. It's just like if you wouldn't be destabilizing entire regions, it's just like the most normal thing. But the right wing really, and you see this in the United States as well, they love using migration to cause division internally, to create a scapegoat, to pin all the issues onto. Because it's like you can just say whatever, you can just lie. And, if you just blast it onto enough segments on Fox News, people might start believing it. But, in Europe, we see the same thing. One thing happened that kind of relates to migration. And because Europe is, been in a decade of like increasing deportations and, making the border stronger, like we do that over here just as much. And so an issue like this is, of course, immediately going to get exploited to limit test European cohesion. Like we saw Italy, Denmark sign letters, like signed a strong worded letter, but also Italy itself suspending temporarily the Schengen cooperation agreement, supported by other countries. But it it's very obvious that these right wing allies, these right wing countries, um, they would love to disrupt European cohesion because that benefits their daddy Trump, right? As Mark Rutte likes to say. So we're going to look at all of that because in the background, it's interesting because Spain's economy is actually really, I would even say, outperforming Europe. In Germany, we cannot stop hearing about how, there's like tens of thousands, 100,000 jobs being lost because of factories closing. Pensions are being cut. Pension age is being lifted a bit. So this is a very different story that we're seeing, and I think it is directly has to do with the way that the countries are deciding to create policy. So yeah, all of that, and we'll see how far we get because that's probably gonna fill it up. This interview is so painful to watch. What is this?
Progressive challengers have ousted 3 incumbent
Democrat candidate Brad Lander. On why he calls himself a liberal Zionist. Uh-oh. wait, what's this? Why is it so low?
Democrats in primaries just over the past month. 2 of those happened right here in New York City. Brad Lander and Daraliza Avila Chevalier both beat Democratic incumbents and are likely to win their November elections in these deep blue districts. Brad Lander joins me now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I want to ask, we were having these conversations earlier in the show, that there's definitely a leftward shift towards where you are philosophically. It showed up in your primary and others. But in less blue districts, there still are more moderate Democrats being elected, even right here in New York.
Oh, yes, guys. The mythical moderate. Oh my god, let's hear her out about this mythical moderate. Won't someone think of the moderates?
17, where Republican Mike Lawler is the congressman. Kate Connolly won the same day you did. So do you think that progressives like yourself could actually win in a place that isn't deep, deep blue?
Well, I don't think the line really so much should be thought of as progressives versus moderates. To me, it's fighters versus folders. People are fed up with the status quo. They don't feel it's working for them. And that's true for working families in more moderate or frontline districts. Look at someone like Pat Ryan in the Hudson Valley, who's been fighting on utility costs and just showing people I'm out there fighting for working families. And that's what I think can unite us. Whether you use Medicare for all and the Green New, I don't think it's possible. I believe.
You call yourself a liberal Zionist. What is a liberal Zionist?
I believe in the vision of a Jewish and democratic Israel. I care about the place, but I don't think.
Okay, bro. This is not the time. I'm sure there were some, German people back in the day that were like, listen, I believe in a German, what did he say? A German democratic Nazi Germany. Hear me out. That's just what I feel. But I care about the Jews. Like that's what it's giving. It's like the one, liberal Nazi. It's like, hey, we can be a Nazi country. We can do apartheid. We can do the Holocaust, but we just, let's be liberal about it. Let's feel a little bad at least. Yeah, that's kind of insane.
It's possible for it to be democratic while it's occupying the West Bank and Gaza. And I don't think that Israel's conduct in Gaza, which I do consider a genocide, is consistent with Jewish values. So to me, it's like you stand up and you call it as you see it. I don't want to keep sending U.S. military aid to Israel.
I mean, this is an interesting little, like, this is totally not the topic for today, but it kind of is because Israel, just like the United States, is involved in like European migration and, like the border control, like American surveillance systems, Israeli drone systems. They are used to keep people out this European border, right? Your Fortress Europe. So it does kind of have to, it's like, it does still connect in some way. But it is an interesting, like, again, I feel like it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's because of his age. I think he just grew up in a certain way, and that's, I don't know, how he's coming to like how he is viewing it himself. Like, I'm just going to call myself a liberal Zionist. I'm going to name it a genocide. I'm going to mention the fact that, it's apartheid and that it should be democratic. Interview is annoying one. Oh yeah, I never see her not be annoying. Like, I think or was it like old stuff of her? Yeah, I don't know. This is like a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. Like, I watch it too much from a distance, but yeah, it's just like, it's typical. Like, again, I was seeing some of the interviews that Abdul Saeed, I think I even saw her interview Abdul Saeed. I don't remember. Like the guy that just won Michigan, the Michigan state primaries, I think. But yeah, like, it's the same questions that with a Jewish candidate, it's hard to pin anti-Semitism on a person like that. But, it feels like, okay, if it's a Muslim candidate or whatever, if it's a non-Jewish candidate, we're going to try to do our best to pin anti-Semitism on this candidate for being critical of Israel. And, oh, you're an anti-Zionist, so that means you're anti-Semitic. And that's not true. But the media indeed loves trying to spin it that way. Let's see what else she says.
Violating international law and Palestinian human rights, but I wanted to actually honor international law and Palestinian human rights so it can be the Jewish and democratic Israel that I grew up believing in.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I understand. You said that you don't think it's a democratic Israel?
I want it to be a Jewish and democratic Israel. Right now, I don't think it's modeling democracy while it occupies the West Bank and Gaza and half the people under its sovereignty can't vote. But I believe that when occupation ends, then it can be Jewish and democratic, and that's what I am going to be I'm fighting for.
Why are you not just a Zionist? Why do you say liberal Zionist? What do you think the difference is?
I mean, the Declaration of Independence that founded Israel says it would be a place for the ingathering of exiles and full civil and political rights for everyone living there. But Palestinians living in the West Bank facing settler terrorism or living in refugee camps in Gaza because their schools and hospitals were destroyed, they don't have full political...
Dude, yesterday I was looking... Before bed, to feel inspired, I was looking at some Norman Finkelstein quotes, and I swear to God, Norman Finkelstein is like my favorite guy. He has some banger quotes, dude. Like, I was reading one of his quotes, and it was like, this one. Every victory of Hezbollah, I celebrate. that made, that made me laugh so much because I know someone like Norman Finkelstein fully means it. He's like, "Oh yeah, they're they're fighting for freedom. Good. I celebrate that. Like it's awesome." But yeah, I mean, I think Norman Finkelstein I just hold in such high regard because of course I really don't know a lot about his like family background, Brad Lander's family background. I don't know if he has like direct relatives from the Holocaust, but for Norman Finkelstein, like his immediate family all got exterminated in the concentration camps in Nazi Germany, and he feels a really deep moral obligation and obligation to truth to speak about it. But yeah, and that's why I'm like, I don't know. That's why, a candidate like this, I'm like, he's trying to use, Zionism to kind of be anti-Zionist, but that's always going to be, I don't know, you're going to kind of get fucked over in the end. It's not going to be as potent as just being anti-Zionist. Because yeah, it shouldn't be a Jewish state. Like, yeah, there can be freedom of religion, but it shouldn't be a Jewish state. I mean, yeah, that sucks. It's not a good thing for anything to be a ethno-religious supremacist state. Like, it's kind of it's in conflict with each other. It can be free and democratic and also be a ethno-religious state. So anyway, but yeah. Maybe at the end of the stream we can go through some Norman Finkelstein quotes because, oh god, it's just banger after banger, dude. I mean, here he says it too. I don't think it's a good thing to have Christian states, Muslim states, or any kind of ethnic states. Exactly. I fully agree. Let's see. Yeah, so any case, I love Norman Finkelstein. I think he has such a good takes, well researched takes about Israel. But alas, let's dive into it because there's plenty of stuff to go around. Let's dive into it. So some Ceuta upgrade or updates. I also want to touch on because also one news story that kind of popped up was speaking of U.S. politicians, it was U.S. Congressman, like Republican Congressman Thomas Massey. He came out with this tweet where he pointed out that like 2 weeks ago, or maybe at this point like 3 weeks ago, the United States had voted. Oh shit! I remember I forgot to put the noise gate on. Rutro. Where did that shit go? Oh, I guess I'll just leave it like this. But yeah, so a couple weeks ago, apparently the US had voted on some like language to do with, the United States supporting Morocco's claim on Ceuta and that it's occupied territory, etc., etc. But apparently there also was like a $400 million US funding happening for Morocco. So let's just have a look at that because, yeah, I don't know. Like, I haven't seen that much reporting on it. So, I don't know. Maybe the relevance will be pointed out later with more reporting coming out. So let's see. So yeah, apparently there was a $400 million US funding package that got some more scrutiny right now. So let's see here. Or it was a proposed funding package, I suppose. Let's see. Where is it? I'm talking about it a bit more. Right. So the committee backs a $40 million assistance package where in the report it states, quote, the committee notes that the Spanish administered cities of Ceuta and Melilla are located in Moroccan territory and remain the subject of Morocco's longstanding claim. It adds, quote, the committee supports efforts by the Secretary of State to encourage diplomatic engagement between Morocco and Spain on the future status of Ceuta and Melilla. Meanwhile, the report directs that, quote, not less than $20 million under national security investment programs and not less than $20 million under foreign military financing program, end quote, be allocated to Morocco. So yeah, it's just, I think what this illustrates is there are clear ties, and this is not something that isn't on the US's radar. Um, and in general, it's just like, hey, whatever triggered this large amount of people to attempt to cross, it's probably a combination of things. It's, whatever. I've seen reporting, and this is also purported by the Spanish government, that it's like smuggler networks or things spread on social media. But I also saw reporting that explained that Spain, this wasn't really on Spain's radar. Like intelligence information, like intelligence and surveillance hadn't seen about anything that would give them insight into it being this large amount of people. So, a lot can be said about what Morocco's role was in this to kind of like open things up or encourage, So again, this will be things that play out. And I think the main importance of what we need to look at is that, again, this all fits very neatly into Europe's long-standing, at this point, 10-year process and plans and goals and development to make Europe much more difficult
just a few kilometers away from
migrate into, even though Europe is very much involved in, together with the US or by itself, destabilizing places in the Middle East. And the last time, anything really large happened as far as migration that really triggered a lot of this was, of course, when Syrian refugees, when they were displaced, moved towards Europe. But yeah, again, we're speaking about United States destabilizing the region, and then Europe dealing with it, or should be dealing with it. If it's not going to stop the United States, at least offer people amnesty and asylum. But instead, they really, paint migrants as this like bad group of people, and it's horrible. It's so stupid. Alea Paper, what's up? How am I? Not bad. How are you? But yeah, so let's just dive into it, because I really want to also start off by focusing on, we've seen reporting now where initially I think around 70 something, 80 something people had died. But now that number is increased, and more likely it seems to be around 441. So yeah, this is also something we absolutely need to keep in mind. A lot of people tried, and a lot of people died in the process of being pushed, coming out of a situation where they're so desperate. And whichever way they hear that there might be some option if they do this, and this is a result for a lot of people. And I think that is important, not to lose our understanding of the human suffering in a situation like this. So I just want to start off by watching this reporting from France 24, where they talk about, how parents are now searching for their children to see what, or to see if they've survived, or, if they can be reunited in any way.
Ceuta, these young men are returning to Morocco from the Spanish enclave. With each arrival, there's hope and anxiety, as Moroccan families desperately look to see if their loved ones are among them. For days now, these mothers and fathers have been searching for their children. Some have received no word since tens of thousands illegally headed to Ceuta last week, either by foot or swimming there. This after false rumors on social media spread saying the border was opening. For many parents, there's been silence since then.
I've been waiting for my son since last Friday. When he heard the border was open, he left. I haven't heard from him since.
On the first day, my son called to say he'd arrived. Since then, I haven't heard a thing. We come here every day hoping to find out more, but no one can give us any information.
Waiting families are trying to stay hopeful, despite looming fears that their loved ones are among the drowned. And the death toll continues to rise. Tens of thousands made it to the Spanish enclave last week. Following an EU meeting, the French Interior Minister said that 70,000 have since returned to Morocco, either after being deported or having left voluntarily, due to a lack of shelter, food, and water in Ceuta.
Spain says an emergency meeting of EU interior ministers to address the mass border rush on Spain's North African territory of Ceuta was constructive. 72,000 migrants rushed across the border from Morocco last week, sparking alarm among some of the European Union's 27 members. Denmark, for its part, said it was very satisfied with Madrid's response to the crisis after earlier suggesting the EU consider suspending Spain from the Schengen area, while the bloc has offered Spain aid, including emergency financial assistance to help.
Right. So, and this is kind of where we're coming out of on Tuesday. There was this massive meeting between all these European interior ministers of different European countries coming together to, talk about especially the European reaction and the aggressive reaction or lack of support that a lot of countries had against Spain. And, we saw the European top official on migration, Magnus Brunner, the European Commissioner for Migration. He, again, there's a lot of mixed messages because on the one hand, they want to take this opportunity to criticize and be like, yes, Spain had a plan to regularize undocumented migrants, and that's not a good signal for Europe. Even though Germany, Italy, many other countries do the exact same thing, right? This is not unique to Spain. But then at the same time, he says like, well, but there's also not a direct link between the events in Ceuta and Spain's regularization plan. So, it's really all over the place, the way EU politicians have been responding to this. And of course, like some of the most direct confrontation we saw was between Spain and Italy, or also between Spain and like the 22 countries that signed a letter criticizing Spain's plan to regularize migrant workers. Again, even though Italy, Germany do the exact same thing. We can look at it right here. Italy and Germany's censure of Spain's migration amnesty is hypocritical. Rights groups say Rome and Berlin have used similar policies to regularize the status of unauthorized immigrants. Italy, Germany, and other countries that accused Spain of attracting migrants with its amnesty scheme have also quietly legalized the status of people who arrived irregularly. Wow, I cannot pronounce these words. Irregularly into their own territory. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has been among Spain's fiercest critics, calling for it to be excluded from the Schengen free movement zone after tens of thousands of people entered the Spanish enclave of Ceuta, even though most were pushed back into Morocco within 24 hours, and even though Ceuta is not even part of the Schengen cooperation. So, I don't remember who said this, but if your main priority is keeping migrants out, the whole point is that it actually worked. Ceuta isn't part of the Schengen agreement, so the Schengen cooperation agreement, the free movement zone, it worked. They didn't enter it. They went into an enclave that falls outside of the Schengen free movement. I'm going to lose my mind talking about this topic because the way these European officials just keep lying is staggering. And we should actually, be a little bit more upset about it because these fuckers, like, what do they think they're doing? They just keep lying and threaten like European, independence, European cohesion. Just because they want to do Trump's dirty work. That's insane. So yeah, in this case, we're looking at, for example, let's see here. So the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez had done a recent amnesty for irregular migrants, where they expected 500,000 people to apply and 1.2 million people had applied. And Meloni, apparently, she is set to grant work permits to a similar number of people by 2028. under a rolling program to hire foreign workers and plug gaps in Italy's labor market. So yeah, also this guy, I've seen him in other articles, so it's good to see him again, Matteo Villa. The Italian government's position is certainly hypocritical because we're doing the same thing, albeit in a slightly different way, said Matteo Villa, a researcher at Italy's Institute for International Political Studies. The Italian program allows employers to apply for work permits for people from countries including Morocco, Egypt, and Tunisia. In practice, experts say it is often applied to people who are already residing in Italy irregularly. Here I go again, irregularly. According to Villa, it's a disguised amnesty. And between 2022, when Meloni came to power, in 2025, Italy issued 590,790. What am I saying? 590,700 work permits to immigrants through the so-called flow decree, according to the Italian Interior Ministry. And in 2024, the government more than doubled the yearly quota compared to 2021, as it was regularly oversubscribed by companies. Between this year and 2028, another 497,550 permits are set to be issued for workers, bringing the total to almost 1.1 million under Meloni's watch. So who are we even blaming about what? Like, this should show you more than anything that Meloni doesn't actually have an issue. Any leader that is like even remotely competent, doesn't matter if they lie, right? That's to the public, that's one thing. But if they're like remotely competent behind closed doors, they know that you need migration, right? And so we can talk all day about all of the fucking lies that the right wing loves to spread to paint migrants in a negative light, to make them a scapegoat for all of our issues. It doesn't mean that they don't need migrants, right? It's a normal part of society, and villainizing people that happen to be migrants doesn't help with the fact that the reason why our societies are actually struggling is because we are super close allies to the United States and Israel. We contribute to wars that destabilize other regions. We, our domestic manufacturing, our industry is crumbling. We are losing jobs. We are losing our future prospects. We are losing our development. And that is all because all of the money we make in the past and whatever, it's all going to the richest motherfuckers in society. And we have to pay increasingly more and more for more and more shit, right? We don't have good healthcare, or our healthcare quality is declining. It's super expensive to, have any kind of living situation where you have a remote bit of independence. Groceries are expensive. Fuel costs a lot. And then you have migrants that just come here to work, right? Trying to make a better life for themselves and their families. And then they're being blamed. Even though money that is being taken away from our healthcare, from anything, it's going to military investment. And as we talk about all the time, military investment is one of the stupidest things you can do for any economy. It has horrible returns in comparison to public spending, to investment in public infrastructure. So, again, doesn't matter if right-wing politicians like Giorgia Meloni in public love to absolutely dogpile onto a country like Spain, shit on them, do all that yapping. When it comes down to it, they're doing the exact same policies. There's nothing else to add there. Honestly, if you're rich nowadays, you have a great life. Otherwise, you don't. And that's the sad truth. I mean, I make that joke all the time. Like, yeah, with the way that military investments are going right now, like if your mommy and daddy are weapons manufacturers, oh, you're doing good. But for the rest of us who don't have a family member involved in, fucking drone systems manufacturing, or some surveillance algorithm technology development, you're kind of fucked, right? You unfortunately, you can't just go to work, pay some stuff here and there and go on vacation, or I don't know, have a hobby, right? Attend a guitar lesson class every once in a while. Like you don't, you literally can't do all of that. I consider myself relatively lucky. Like I don't live independently in that way. Like I have to kind of live with my family and whatever. But I feel like I'm lucky because even if it's a little bit every month, I'm able to build like the smallest little savings. And I think that for a lot of people, that's not even possible. Um, and I don't see like a fantastic future. Like I love the idea of owning a little apartment, like decorating it, maybe having a pet, or maybe eventually, dating, having a partner, having a family. Like that's all fantastic stuff to fantasize about, or like, oh, what would I do? Or what would I like? But it's not even realistic. Like, you know, it's so insane. But in any hoot, so yeah, all of that to say that, don't get it twisted when you hear all of these European countries. Oh shit, I didn't talk about Germany yet. So don't get it twisted when you hear all of these countries absolutely, chew Spain the fuck out, because Germany and Greece, who also signed the letters, also implemented amnesties, although at a smaller scale than in Spain, in addition to the normal residency programs that most European countries have. So again, migration, it always has been a really normal part of society, but ever since like the 2015, 2016 era, migration, propaganda, migration has really been used to scapegoat all of society's issues and been used for the right wing to gain voters, and they will get nothing in return, right? If you vote for parties that say they're against migration, you're not going to get anything out of that. Like they're still going to let migrants come in because an economy needs it. But what we can do, we can lean more towards the side of how Spain is doing it, because Spain is actually right now having the lowest unemployment that they've had since 2027. Wait, where was it? ¿Dónde está? Yeah, so unemployment is at the lowest figure for this month since 2027, and the pace of job creation is accelerating, and its quality is improving across all age group and professional activities. And for comparison, Spain is responsible for about half of job creation in Europe. Like, and I cannot understate the significance of that, and that's why Spain is being targeted. Like for me, I would like to see us move like whatever Spain is doing, and we need to even push it further, right? Like public transportation, let's make it free. I'm not that good of an economist, so it's not really for me to throw out what we need to do, but like let's keep it pushing, right? Clearly, investment, public infrastructure investment is such a good investment that we just need to keep going, and people will actually start to realize like, oh shit, this is what actually makes society flourish. My dad's Alex Karp, my mom's Erin Osman, so I'm good. Well, honestly, I guess I'm happy for you. I hope you have a good time. I guess that kind of reminds me, I think last stream we were talking about, who was it again? Another chatter, Linton, he brought up, I don't know, there was this like billionaire heir or something who was like he donates to like Palestinian causes and he's like now in extradition, or is under threat of extradition from Madrid to the United States. I don't remember his name anymore, but you can be that. Hey, you can, throw some money here and there to some good causes. Nobody wants to date these days, and I've been saying that. Unfortunately, with all of this progress, I can't believe it. But yeah, let's have a little look-see at what all these European politicians really, they wanted to do. They wanted to come on the video call, go like this to Spain, and then be like, "Bad Spain, I can't believe you've done this." And then when Spain is like, "What do you mean what I've done? I've dealt with it. We aren't even the people causing this issue. What do you mean?" And then they're like, "Well, I just wanted to show you why I oughta." And then that's pretty much what the vibe was. It's just a fucking, I don't know what, it's not like a circle jerk. It's more like a, I mean, like circle jerk, but in the sense of like, they really want to just, I don't know, man. Whatever. Let's just watch the clip.
Help strengthen the protection of its external border. Take a listen.
From the first moment, of course, what we did as a commission.
Oh, here he is, guys. Magnus Brunner, the EU Commissioner for Migration. So this is like the EU boss about migration, and he's gonna enlighten us. That's for sure.
We offered support to Spain, both financially and operationally, and this includes emergency financial assistance to strengthen the protection of the external border in Ceuta, also supporting returns, of course, and also to prevent movements to the European Union.
For more on this story, I'm joined in the studio by Ketavan Gorjestani, our international affairs editor. Ketavan, this comes then after days of tensions within the EU, but this seems to have subsided now.
Yes, there's been really a complete change of tone from what we saw in the last few days, the really vicious criticism towards the Spanish government. And it seemed that the EU, or most of the EU, has sort of rallied back around Pedro Sanchez and his country. You had Magnus Brunner that we just heard there, who said that there was full solidarity with Spain around the table during that emergency meeting. You mentioned Spain's reaction, saying that it was a constructive meeting. They also said that there was recognition around the table of Spain's efficient and immediate response. Francis Laurent Nunez, the Interior Minister, praised Spain for its handling of the incident, and even Denmark, which was one of the top countries that were criticizing Spain, said they were very satisfied with what the Spaniards did. There was
Yeah, so she's mentioning here the French Interior Minister. What he also said on this meeting with the European counterparts is that the problem isn't Schengen, really reiterating that, you know, we didn't need to do all of that crazy shit with suspending, even temporarily, the Schengen cooperation. But Schengen is a solution. Schengen didn't let a single person from Ceuta into the Spanish mainland. The problem is outside interference, whipping up divisions within Europe. So, you know, I think it's really interesting to look at these comments because, you know, on the one hand, Europe is still really focused and committed to, you know, border control and anti-migration, or really controlled migration, whatever. But that just shows you that even in the European ruling class, there is a bit of like, there's different schools of thought, right? There's contradictions. Because again, yeah, you have people like Italian PM Giorgia Meloni. You have this type of take. You have a Pedro Sanchez type of take. So I think there's really a range in things where on the one hand, but I think it all largely falls still under the European approach to migration right now, which is kind of being very hard on it and actually wanting to increase deportations, or at least having the option to really increase deportations and all the infrastructure necessary for it, because that's at least also what the United States really wants to push on Europe. And we have seen it in last June when these like deportation hubs, as they're being called, outside of the EU have been, you know, created in order to, you know, facilitate increasing the amount of deportations. And being able to keep people outside of the EU and kind of in a legal gray area. Let's just say very inhumanely. So I half agree with what he's saying. Like the outside interference is being used to whip up divisions within Europe. But I don't really agree with this like continuation of like we really need to be kind of skeptical about migration, or we need to pretend that migration isn't a normal thing, or that we, you know, that we just need to be normal about it, you know.
was even a sort of downgrading of the blame on Spain for what happened. There was talk among some European countries that it was because of the policies of Pedro Sanchez, including that legalization path for tens and hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants. Magnus Brunner, he said this was not a very good signal for the rest of the EU, but he did specify that there was no direct link between those policies and what happened in Ceuta. He also said that the Schengen space was never in danger, was never breached. And finally, the Ceuta incident, he said, was fueled by smuggling networks and disinformation on social media. It was in his words, not the fault of Spain, if you will. But even if you saw a rhetoric that has been cooling about what happened in Ceuta and how Spain has handled this, it has re-exposed once again the very divisive nature and divisive debate within Europe on the question of immigration and especially on illegal migration.
Well, indeed. I mean, the situation in Ceuta is now under control, but what comes next with immigration being such a hot topic in the EU?
Well, look, first there'll be the sort of concrete elements as to what happened in Ceuta and how you move forward. They're saying now that 70,000 of those migrants have been returned to Morocco, but there's still about 2,000 there, especially minors. So you have to figure out what these people are going to be doing, where they're going to be staying. Then there are questions as to how the situation actually did happen. Was there a failure by Spanish authority? Was there a failure and a role played by Morocco? There are some people who are pointing the finger at Morocco saying this could not have happened if the Moroccans at the very least didn't let it happen. And there's also a question that was asked to Magnus Brunner during that press conference as to who was behind the social media disinformation. And he did say it's too early to tell if Russia was involved because often when...
Hey, when in doubt, when in doubt. I don't know, man. Like, again, we'll have to see, but listen, I don't know what Russia has to gain from this. I don't think Russia gives a fuck. Like, I don't know if, I mean, hey, maybe Russia's like big braining this, but I don't guys, I don't think it's Russia. Like, the United States, Morocco, and Israel are right there. I don't think Russia needs to get involved in this. It's just, again, it's just like blaming Russia for, you know, blowing up its own Nord Stream pipeline. Like, that's kind of silly. And therefore triggering the Ukraine war. It's kind of silly. Like, that's insane. No, the United States doesn't mind getting its hand dirty if it's for this type of European conflict. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we will have to see what kind of reporting comes out, because you know that some good journalists are working on it and you know, analyzing what happens, checking out the social media stuff. I'm sure that the truth will come out. That's for sure.
There are attempts on social media to disrupt the tightness and the unity of Europe. Eyes turned and fingers are pointed towards Russia. Then you look a little bit beyond Ceuta, the question of strengthening external borders. That's something that Denmark really wants to focus on.
Yeah, Denmark needs to shut the fuck up, man. What the fuck is Denmark worrying about? Bro, Denmark, you know, I feel like, I don't know if this is Danish people too. I feel like Danish people need to worry about some other shit, right? Danish people just need to go ride a bike, enjoy their, I don't know, free healthcare for tooth care. I don't know. What kind of cool stuff do they have? Just focus on that, dude. Like, Danish people, I feel like Danish people need to worry about conscription coming back. Like, if I was a Danish person, I would not at all be worried about some, like, fake, you know, invasion stories in Spain, all that shit. I would not be worried about that at all. I would sure as hell be worried about potential conscription. Oh, my cat's doing crazy shit. Wait.
France tightening its borders with Spain, but also with Italy in cooperation with Italy. The question of beefing up Frontex, the EU border control agency. All of these things are back on the table. But of course, the most divisive topics are also back on the table. The question of third country return hubs for illegal immigrants is once again back on the table. And you're seeing that this is becoming a very big political issue in Europe, especially with domestic politics.
Oh yeah, the return hub situation is definitely back. Let me just double check where that actually is coming from. Let's see. Was it France 24 reporting? Yeah, because indeed, again, it wouldn't be Italy and right-wing Meloni's. It wouldn't be Giorgia Meloni without, if she would let a situation like this go to waste. Right? This is a perfect crisis that they will not let go to waste. Because on the one hand, of course, they will try to use it to, you know, drive a wedge in European cohesion, but they will also use it, and therefore limit testing European cohesion, but they will also use it to kind of, again, bring back the goal of like developing these like return hubs outside of the EU. So, spurred by Italy, among others, the EU has significantly tightened migration rules in recent months, including by allowing member states to send failed asylum seekers to so-called return hubs located outside of the bloc's borders. According to a transcript shared by his office, Piantedosi argued the time has come for EU countries to set up return centers on the model of a deal between Rome and Albania, and he suggested the EU should use trade measures to pressure Morocco, which he accused of failing to cooperate on repatriation, enjoy significant advantages in its trade relations with Europe. So, yeah, they will use this situation absolutely to kind of be like, guys, actually, this is a great time for us to get back on our, deportation business and make sure that we have places outside of the EU where we can kind of ramp up our deportations. And, we don't have to deal with all the icky legality and human rights issues that would come if we would, have to deal with deportations within the EU. Human rights are such a beautiful thing in the hands of Europe, because on the one hand, we love talking about human rights when it kind of suits us, but when it comes to the human rights of Palestinians, when it comes to the human rights of migrants, European leaders really don't care. And I'm not gonna lie, European leaders also don't really care about your human rights. If it comes to the point where we need to enforce conscription, or we're gonna take people's rights away on whatever kind of situation, whether that be the LGBTQ community or many other things, we're gonna do it because, hey, tightening control on the population in a country ruled by violent capitalists is always the main tool to, control people and control the population. So let's see here. What else? Yeah, I think as far as like the main things we can talk about, I think that that's fine. What I do want to point at is indeed these like connections that EU anti-migration policy has to the United States surveillance companies or even Israeli drone companies, because all of these type of companies, like really the worst of the worst, cooperate with EU's Frontex, which is responsible for kind of, controlling the border and all of that. So we're going to have a quick look at that just as a refresher. Because, yeah, it is just so important to understand that the US and Israel are deeply involved with the political economy of EU migration violence. Like I said, there is a US military surveillance company that does both spying missions over Gaza, and then also flies for Europe's Frontex. And in that way supporting Libya and Libyan forces to intercept people that are trying to flee, right? And on top of that, Frontex also uses Israeli-made surveillance drones that also help with this process. And so the United States has also not stopped looking for deals with Libya, migration deals, deportation deals, I should say, kind of in cooperation with the EU to set up all of these like legal gray zones, inhumane, offshore, outside of Europe, deportation hubs, which are just detention centers, right? We see what the United States is doing, what ICE is doing in the United States. We see the horrible conditions of these like ICE detention facilities. It is concentration camps. People are not getting clean water. They're not getting normal food, sufficient food. Children are being held in these facilities. It's horrifying. And the United States wants to do the same here. Why? Because it's profitable at the end of the day. And it just, it gives the United States a finger in the pot to keep an eye on how things are going over here, right? It's United States tech companies, it's United States algorithms, it's United States fucking like manufacturing, it's all of it. And of course, the reason, and this is also, again, clearly why there has been such an intense reaction from the right to what Spain is doing, or how Spain is kind of being critical against the United States and against Israel, and not letting the United States use Spanish military bases for the US-Israeli war on Iran. It will be to see how it pans out. Like, will the international right-wing propaganda machine win out and have the far right take over in Spain? Or will people see the fucking balls that Pedro Sanchez has, and the conviction and the commitment to representing the broad majority of people's, popular interests? Like 70% of people in Spain don't agree with the war on Iran, with the US-Israeli war on Iran. So, he is truly just representing the popular interests of Spaniards. But of course, we'll have to see how the elections turn out. Also, in France, in Germany, they're coming up. Let's have a look here, because so like I said, I kind of want to dive back into some old older videos about Frontex. One here is already 4 years ago. It's from the left in European Parliament. It's called Frontex. And so let's just see. Actually, let's watch this one, because this is much more specific about what I was just talking about. I was just talking about the US surveillance technology and Israeli drones that get used by Libya in order to do this type of surveillance and to stop people from, or just intercepting people while they are fleeing and trying to seek asylum. This is really what the United States wants, is what the United States, Israel, and Europe want, what they work together for. Hey, what's up, Blue? Welcome to the chat. Welcome, chatter. How you doing? You're just joining us. We're kind of still talking about the Ceuta updates. We talked about a lot of it, how, the hatchet has been buried. A lot of like European representatives have kind of now flipped and are supporting Spain or whatever. But I just, we talked about all of it, how it's clearly, again, because Italy, Germany, they all do the exact same thing that Spain does, right? They all have regularization. It was a little active. I mean, I think one person was a bot. But Duncan Crosbury has been in here before. We've seen this chatter. So people have been chatting it up. But I was just going through how Italy does the exact same thing that Spain is doing about giving 500,000 plus another 500,000 in the next 2 years. Give, many people, irregular migrant workers, give them permits and regularize them. But even though Italy is doing the exact same thing that Spain is doing, Italy's right-wing Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni will use this crisis to push for her interests. And that's the interest of the United States as well. And I was just also explaining right now that, US and Israel are really deeply involved with the political economy of US, or they're deeply involved with political economy of EU migration violence. I was talking about how the US has surveillance systems that, Libya uses, and Israeli drones are also used to intercept people trying to flee and seek asylum. So, the United States and Israel have a lot to gain from the way that Europe is, making migration this like scapegoating issue. So I just wanted to watch this video. It's kind of old. It's 3 years old. It's by the Human Rights Watch, but it just illustrates what I'm talking about right now. And that we really need to be fucking normal about migration again in Europe. Like, it has gone completely beyond, like, these right-wing leaders are really, weaponizing people's actual anger at their worsening conditions of life, and the worsening like crisis of affordability. But instead of giving any useful solution, they blame it on migrants, and it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Anyway, let's watch the video.
This is the Libyan Coast Guard intercepting a boat in international waters in the Mediterranean Sea. On board are approximately 20 migrants trying to reach European shores. Instead, they were intercepted and taken to Libya, where they faced arbitrary detention, violence, and exploitation. This map of the drone flight path suggests that the European Union Border and Coast Guard Agency Frontex was monitoring the boat and alerted the Libyan Coast Guard about its location. There was also a nearby NGO rescue vessel, the Sea-Watch 3, which could have taken the migrants to safety, but Frontex did not alert them. Frontex runs an extensive network of aerial surveillance over the Mediterranean Sea. It claims this supports rescues of overcrowded and unseaworthy boats. But data gathered by Human Rights Watch and Border Forensics show how information from Frontex helps the Libyan Coast Guard intercept boats. Analysis from July to August 2021 shows that there was a correlation between the amount of time Frontex flights surveilled the area and the number of boats intercepted by the Libyan Coast Guard. The blue line in this graph shows the number of hours surveillance flights spent in the air per day. The red line shows the number of interceptions on those days. Aerial surveillance is a cornerstone of the EU's strategy to prevent migrants and asylum seekers from reaching Europe by boat. Providing substantial help to the Libyan Coast Guard, knowing that it helps to send people to face grave human rights violations in Libya, makes the EU complicit in this abuse. Frontex should stop empowering Libyan forces to intercept people. The EU should create safe and legal migration channels and support rescue at sea.
Yeah, I feel like, again, how old was I in 2015, 2016? I guess it's like 10 years ago. So I was right around 17, 18 years old. Like, by that time, I wasn't really knowledgeable about this stuff. Like, I knew like things were happening, but I guess I didn't really understand it in like the larger context. I think I only kind of understood how like internal European migration works. I don't know if I would have to explain where we are at right now to myself 10 years ago. I would say that, well, first of all, that the Schengen Cooperation Agreement is fucking awesome, but that, we need to go further than that, right? Like, the reason why migration is seen as a bad thing is because, well, first of all, it's not. But, worse people in society keep painting migrants in a horrible light because it benefits them. Not because it's the truth. Not because it's actually only bad people coming over. Like, these are people that want so desperately a better life. They want to be teachers, they want to be hairdressers, they just want to be a normal person, right? They want to provide for their families. And my family is also migrants, right? We migrated to the Netherlands from Portugal. I grew up in Portugal, or I was born and raised in the Netherlands. I didn't grow up in Portugal. And it's what I know. It's my life, and I think I had a lot of opportunities that allowed me to develop into a more realized person. I think that's awesome, and I think everyone deserves that. It's not just something we should maintain here within Europe, and that anyone that tries to come here, we need to fucking deport them and send them away to be abused somewhere else. I think that's fucking ridiculous. And that's so not, it's so insane. It's so violent. And it makes me really upset. Will always be crazy for me how they keep repeating men in military age. Yeah, in the United States, I think it's really comparable to what the United States is doing. I was just talking about it. Like in the United States, what ICE is doing, they're kidnapping people in broad daylight. They are holding, normal ass people that happen to be migrants, even if it's children. They're holding them in detention facilities that are practically concentration camps. They're getting contaminated water with worms and other kind of like impurities and danger. They're not getting enough food, if they're even getting half decent food at all. Like, it is horrific conditions, right? And it's not even something that like the United States, it comes and goes with how they talk about it, because the protests are still ongoing. People have been killed by ICE, by members of ICE. Like, ICE people that are like in ICE right now need to be prosecuted. Like, all of these people need to go to the modern day version of the Nuremberg trials. Like, those are some fucking Nazis. Like, those are some violent ass motherfuckers that are given guns and a badge and a body armor vest. That's not, and again, I keep like, and that's just like the moral human side of it. Like, if you're speaking in about it in political economic terms, it's not gonna make anything better. Like, all of that military investment, all of the billions that get sent to Israel, that does not make your country better. It just crumbles all of the infrastructure that remains even more. But yeah, this is a great video. This is an old video, but it's not less relevant. It's still incredibly relevant. Because again, I was talking about it, and what news article spoke about this? Let's see. Oh, okay. I think Jacobin spoke about it. Okay, it's behind a paywall. Hold up, wait a minute. Yeah, so indeed, Jacobin here talks about it, that U.S. Israel axis is deeply involved in political economy of EU migration violence. Again, I've mentioned this before, but it is U.S. military surveillance and Israeli-made surveillance drones that are, some of the companies and countries most deeply involved with Europe's current migration deportation policy. And this is mostly happening since 2015, 2016. But it's not good for us. And we clearly need migrants. Any normal society and economy needs migration. It's a normal part of it. And these are just normal people that deserve a normal life, right? Like, all of this scapegoating to make them seem into something gross, disgusting, and different, it's a lie. They are normal people. Like, anyone can be a migrant, and it doesn't have to be in, You can be, some people call it expat, you know, it's like just going from one place to the other because you want a different life, you know, unless it's like you're fleeing for real danger, then you're an asylum seeker and it's not, you know, you probably didn't maybe want to leave. But still, anyone should have that right and freedom. And anyone deserves to live without being in fear of their lives, right? Preferably in the place that maybe you're born and you want to stay. But a lot of people don't have that choice because their countries get destabilized by the likes of the United States and Israel. And speaking of Israel, or actually, let's just quickly, before we move on to America's Board of Peace Gaza deal, let's just talk about ICE a little bit more, because here,
the Trump administration,
Fox News loves to flex on the fact that ICE is making record numbers of arrests in July. The people in the comments are insane. But yeah, apparently I set single month record from immigration arrests, 51,000 total in the month, at about 1,645 arrests per day. Again, this is just Nazis flexing with their Nazi shit. Like, what is happening? Also, I think this is slightly hiding behind the camera. There you go. It's insane, and it's just so violent. But yeah, let's just watch this video.
Immigration crackdown reaching a historic milestone, as sources tell Fox News that ICE made a record 51,000 arrests in July. That is the highest monthly arrest total in the agency's history. Let's bring in former ICE director and former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary Jonathan Fahey. So we've got the record numbers in the month of July, and yet MAGA still has the long knives out for DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen.
Yeah, it's pretty
just insane.
Interesting, because these numbers are, record number last month, record numbers this month. And remember earlier...
I just see reports also coming out about people dying in detention. It is, I mean, you know, it's kind of, it's, for me personally, I think a lot of normal people that look at this are so horrified by what they're seeing. Like, I feel like the average person that looks at this, you know, I'm sure that to some extent they're used to the goings on of America and like the really militarized like police presence and all this stuff. But this is just something else, right? This is just on a whole nother level, something that doesn't contribute to the well-being of the society at all. It's just to satisfy like a really, you know, small percentage of American society that within the Trump, you know, MAGA movement really want this to happen. Like, a majority of people don't think that this will contribute to the improvement of, you know, the cost of living crisis. Yeah, I don't know, man. The Trump administration is so fucking unpopular, and Trump is so unpopular. Like, they do this to kind of get some numbers out there, some positive, like, hey, look at how many, you know, brown people rearrested. But this is not going to make people forget about the fact that, you know, billions and billions keep being sent over to Israel, and they still don't have healthcare. Like, Americans still don't have healthcare, but apparently we can do all of this.
This year we had the shutdown, so it's sort of hard to get the numbers going. But right now we have a lot of agents getting up and running. I think there's 5,000 new deportation officers coming online. So those numbers are going to keep high. I think some of the criticism he's getting or some of the statements he's made outside of the job where he's
Dude, shout out to these Americans that are fighting back though. Like, even if it's just being present in large numbers at these kidnapping attempts, right? Because often these ICE thugs will go to, you know, a family's house, and they will, you know, try to knock on the door and be like, hello, can you come to the door, please? And then if someone opens the door, they will just take them. Like, that's what ICE is doing right now. So oftentimes just these groups of people, these really brave people following these like ICE thugs, and telling the people in English, in Spanish, in whatever language necessary that don't open the door, these people do not have a warrant. They, all of that stuff, just informing the public and being present in numbers, that makes a difference, because that means that they can't do this without pushback.
About various immigration issues. And I think that's always a tricky area, because when people hear euphemisms like comprehensive immigration reform and things like that, their antenna goes up, and it's like, we've seen this movie before, and we think it means amnesty. He came back after that recent speech and said, look, if you're here illegally, you have to go. And I think that has to be the message, because one of the most important things they've done, they've gotten 2.2 million people to self-deport. If people get the message that they can stay, they're not going to self-deport. So those numbers need to be high and also for
Isn't this like, it's not the exact same thing as what our people here in Europe are saying, right? As what our leaders and like media talking heads over here are saying, but it sure does rhyme. It sure does sound similar in the way they describe this and the way they describe that. It sure does rhyme. This idea that, oh, they'll go back themselves, or, we need to be heavy-handed, we need to, all of this stuff. It's like, you can see that they, the United States and Europe are in the same think tanks, the right wing, they're in the same think tanks. They use the same, goals and ideas and tactics, and how they talk about it and how they described it. It's just funny to, especially now that we recently went through, sure, a large number of people tried to cross. But especially we now saw this like huge wide scale response, and how, we can really pinpoint similarities, and, we see how similar the goals are between people like this in the Trump administration and people like Giorgia Meloni, even to people in Denmark, the political leaders in Denmark, and other countries like Germany, and all the other and all the total 22 other countries that signed the strong worded letter against Spain.
Torrents of new people coming in, because we do not want to repeat of what went on under Biden or what was just going on in Spain last week.
Yeah, the situation in Ceuta.
Oh, there you go. He literally 2 sentences after, he brings up Spain, even though it has, none of this has anything to do with each other. They just make it have to do with each other because, migration is bad, so that means that we can use it for our own propaganda. Fucking nasty ass people. This is the best you can do in your life. Be a fucking ICE agent. Useless.
You had 60,000 Moroccans who suddenly decided, let's go into the country because somebody said the door is open. I mean, 2028, if a Democratic president gets in, do you expect that we'll see a situation like that return to the United States as we saw under Biden? I mean, Ceuta kind of looked like, we were talking about this, all those Haitians in Del Rio. Right. 15, 20,000 of them that came streaming across the border.
Right. This must have given Bill Maloogian some flashbacks from his coverage. But the scary thing about it is the Spanish government was tougher on these migrants than the Biden administration, because remember the Biden administration, we had upwards of 300,000 people coming in a month. They weren't sending them back. They were bringing them in and welcoming them into the country. But yes, it will get worse if the Democrats are elected, because since the 2024 election,
I think people, I don't know. I don't know enough about U.S. politics, but people right now, I think that they really care about is politicians that are not bought and paid for by AIPAC. They're not bought and paid for by Israeli lobby, aka corruption. That's why we also saw Abdul El-Sayed win the Michigan State primary. He has been declared the winner because, his opposition, she received over 60 million in donations from all these groups, all these AIPAC and all this other stuff, and he didn't run on that type of platform, and she lost. I mean, it's not the biggest difference, but it's a majority, so hey, we'll take it. But yeah, I mean, I don't think politicians that are openly pro-Israel, which I think, that doesn't immediately mean that you're pro-migration, but it means that you're in the same right-wing conservative sphere of politics that happens to also be pro-immigration, pro-deportation, I mean. I don't think people like that necessarily will get elected that easily, especially if we keep hammering on the fact that anyone that is pro-deportation and pro-Israel, because it's all part of the same political sphere, that's extremely unpopular right now. It's extremely unpopular, especially that we see these kidnappings on the street. So I don't know, that's for America to solve, but that's just something to keep in mind.
We have seen the Democrats get more radical on this issue, just like you were talking about with the New York issue. They are essentially opposed to even deporting the most serious criminals. So it's game on if the Democrats ever win again. There's no border, and it's going to be mass amnesty under any respect. And, you see New York every
Calling it
single
mass
day.
amnesty is also just such a bitch move, dude. Oh my God. It's not mass amnesty. It's really not.
They're sending criminals back out on the street rather than turning them over ice 7,000 times just last year.
On your point of the potential consequences of the election, here's what Democrat from Massachusetts, Seth Moulton, who's in a tight race, said about immigration. Listen here.
Number one, prosecute ICE. Prosecute them for violating the law. They need to be held accountable. Number two, create an immigration system that actually incentivizes people to come here legally, not illegally. Three, we need a pathway to citizenship for everybody who's here.
All right, so there's a real contradiction there, right? Incentivize people to come here legally, but give everybody who's here illegally citizenship. I mean, the pull factor that something like that would do is just, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, that's
pull facts. They love talking about pull facts, dude. I don't remember. I mean, it's probably in every article, but it's like Italy, and I mean, I probably have it here somewhere, but they always talk about the pull fact. And I think Italy specifically talked about like the pull fact. The pull factor. Like this was in the letter that was organized by Italy and Denmark, where they criticized Spain's like regularization plan that they themselves also do. But they talked about that, this regularization plan acts as a pull factor for illegal immigration. So again, same type of language we see pop up again and again. And you see how the United States is looking, right? Do we want to be like that? Guys, I don't want to be like this shit. They don't have healthcare. They don't have basic education. I don't want that for us. I want better for us. And we absolutely deserve better than that. The Americans deserve better than that. You know what I mean?
That's what you end up getting in Spain. It's like all of
like, how is granting amnesty for migrants a pull factor for more migrants, but sending billions to a country like Israel that is apartheid states and that is committing genocide? How is that not a pull factor for allowing the worst shit in society ever? Like, how are we going to talk about pull factors? Like, they're just pulling shit out of their ass. I think that that's what it means. Like, when they talk about the pull factor, they mean, I'm going to pull some of the dumbest arguments known to man and stupidest lies. I'm going to pull factor them out of my ass and throw them to the people and see if anyone is stupid enough to believe this shit.
These euphemisms, gobbledygook, it's like, we want it to be done legally, but we'll reward you for doing it illegally. They should essentially get rid of the legal immigration system and just say we have the illegal system, because coming here illegally under the Democrat rule is a
and who created that system? Who created this broken ass, migration system? You did. And who destroyed countries and other places? You did. United States, you did. Migration is a normal thing, and if you think there's excess migration, maybe stop bombing other countries or kidnapping, leaders, or putting sanctions on countries that, just happen to have a bit of oil. Maybe, stop trying to destroy everyone you can't control, and then maybe, there would be not as much migration, but there still will be migration, because migration has always existed. And migration is responsible for the coolest fucking shit, for the best food, the coolest music, all that type of stuff that comes about when different cultures, when different people, they interact in a different environment. That's like the coolest thing about migration.
Far greater benefit.
Like, what do you mean migration sucks? Have you tried Dutch food? Exactly, you haven't, because that shit sucks. Like, they have a couple bangers, but it's like cookies and cakes. Like, it's not even real food. Like, the food that is like food that like Dutch people eat in the Netherlands is like Turkish food, Surinamese food, Indonesian food. That's the food that Dutch people get when they go for takeout and things like that. Dutch people don't get Dutch takeout. That's not a thing, right? And that's, again, that is the most small but awesome positive of migration. And then there's just the fact that, hey, people get to, you know, be themselves, be normal, raise their families. That's like, that should be like the main thing. And then everything else is just a bonus
to people than coming legally, which takes a lot of time, effort, and money. And this idea is going to prosecute ICE agents for what? For enforcing laws passed by Congress?
Oh yeah, this is like a really big thing that a lot of people want to call for the prosecution of ICE agents because, again, they're fucking kidnapping people on the streets and they're killing people. They're violently dealing with the people that they abduct. Not even to mention the bullshit that's going on in the, concentration camps, the detention facilities. Yeah, prosecute all of them. Prosecute Donald Trump too. Like, they are destroying American civilization.
It's totally insane that they'll turn criminals back in the street, or the governor of Minnesota pardoning child rapists so they can stay in the country, but then you'll prosecute
me when I lie. This guy's just doing the classic, just like throwing shit out there that's just not the truth. Whoa. It's just crazy shit.
Law enforcement officers that are simply doing their job, which is enforcing the law and doing it in good faith, unlike the prior administration.
Well, no question this is going to be a huge issue in the midterms. Jonathan, it was great to spend time with you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Be sure to like and subscribe.
Oh, my goodness. Anyways, so yeah, I think that's what we can all take from this. Also, honestly, Blue, while you're here, I also wanted to dip into this story
under fire
slightly.
from all
Oh,
sides.
shit, that's so loud. I wanted to slightly dip into this story because I haven't covered it a lot, but I was kind of seeing it here and there, like the FIFA plan to, what is it? Privatize? No, not privatize, but like to sell stakes in FIFA or whatever. And then a lot of European teams were like, oh, if that happens, we're boycotting. What the fuck are you doing? And then he was like, guys, it was just a joke. I'm not gonna do it. But now apparently Gianni Infantino's problems mount after Wenger and key FIFA ally turn on him after stake sale plan. So I'm kind of curious about that. That sounded really funny. So let's watch this.
Coming under fire from all sides, an increasingly isolated Gianni Infantino was dealt a further blow on Tuesday as both his number 2, Matthias Grafström, and senior FIFA official Arsene Wenger criticized the botched plan to sell a stake in the World Cup. In a statement published via FIFA,
man, these people are so fucking money hungry. It's insane. It's disgusting what it is, but it's insane. Like, really, all of the billions and billions in profit that you're already taking home isn't enough? You need to do this shit? Like, these motherfuckers spend too much time around Trump and they're like, okay, this is normal now. We're gonna bring this to the rest of the world. Like, no. We might be, America might be our future, but we're not there yet. We're not gonna accept that bullshit just yet.
the former Arsenal coach sought to distance himself from the aborted scheme.
I was not involved in this strategic plan and first became aware of the project through media reports. The decision to withdraw the project was absolutely necessary and beyond question, because I firmly believe in an independent FIFA that serves our game with commitment, transparency, and integrity.
Infantino, who's led FIFA for 10 and a half.
This guy, every time I see him, he gives me the fucking creeps, dude. Like, he is just the most disingenuous, alien frog looking motherfucker that I have ever seen. Like, this is the type of person they talk about when they talk about like reptiles and aliens wearing human skin. Like, I don't believe in that conspiracy theory, that in that like fucking, fantasy, whatever. But this guy, if there's one guy I would believe it for, this is one of those type of people. Like, who does he remind me? Like, he just gives me Jeff Bezos vibes. It's like the same, like, creepy, slimy, like, trying too hard, but also, like, clearly such a piece of shit. Ugh.
Years, until recently looked set for a fourth term
So gross. Sorry, I
at
need
the
to
helm
stop.
of the organization. But that changed last week after details of a
He's
plan
not
to sell off
gross because of his appearance. He is gross because of who he is on the inside. Let's be clear, right? Although, because of how gross he is on the inside, that affects how I perceive him on the outside. For sure.
a 20% stake in World Cup commercial rights were leaked, sparking a fierce backlash from football authorities across the globe. The European, Asian, and North American federations all threatened to boycott the World Cup if the sale went ahead, forcing Infantino to scrap the scheme only 4 days later. But that wasn't enough to douse the global outrage, with the 56-year-old now facing growing calls to step down as FIFA
Oh, it's so funny.
president.
So funny. I don't know, man. Ugh, it's just really funny to me. What a dumbass, dude. What a fucking dumbass. Ay, ay, ay. And he deserves it. What a stupid fucking plan. Let's see. Yeah, for the last part of the stream, I want to get to talking about, a slight update on the Gaza situation with the peace plan. But I also want to talk about the fact that there was a mass funeral held in Gaza that is just, it's hard not to be pessimistic when talking about this because, on the one hand, on this broadcast, we talk about a lot of EU news, things that are happening in Europe that, we should know about, and most likely we should probably be a little bit more upset about. And that's all fine and good. But, whenever we are able to spend some time in the broadcast talking about Gaza updates or what is the situation right now in Gaza, there's no words that are sufficient. There's no time that is enough to describe, what it is like to be in Gaza right now. And that goes for anyone, but for me, my mind so quickly goes to, the children that are growing up in Gaza. And it's not much growing up, right? Because, your future is stolen. Oftentimes, your family members, your friends, the people in your life are killed by Israel. And so it's not really much of a life, but a lot of these children that you see in Gaza, they are still they're children, and it's such a horrible contrast, right? They should be having the best times of their lives and, making beautiful memories with their families. And they're just under so much violence day after day. And so I just want to spend a bit of time talking about Gaza, which is not enough. But it's what I can do to amplify this. And right now we're gonna sorry. And what we're only talking about is the mass funeral that was held in Gaza for the 112 people killed in Israeli strikes And these are 112 people whose bodies were recovered from a block of flats destroyed by Israeli strikes almost 3 years ago. And authorities in Gaza have only recently been able to begin the painstaking task of trying to retrieve remains from under that rubble. And it's believed that more than 300 Palestinians were killed in Gaza City attack in November 2023. Someone else also commented on this, being that this is one of the largest funerals in the history of the Palestinian cause. Today, 112 martyrs will be buried in the soil of Gaza. Talk about us, raise our voices. Don't let these scenes pass unnoticed on your phones. And another person commented on the fact that, of course, journalists in Palestine, Palestinian journalists in Gaza, are also under extraordinary pressure because they are targeted so often and killed by Israel so often that a lot of the journalists that a lot of us saw throughout the genocide by Israel on Gaza have been killed. And so there's not a lot of people left to report on this type of thing and cover it. Most of the journalists who were showing us live what was happening in Gaza have been killed by Israel. So when you come across even just one video, it's important to relay it as much as possible. So let's watch some of this news coverage about it.
Mourning rituals delayed by nearly 3 years. For some of the dead, longer than they lived.
And look at this. These are children.
40 children were amongst the 112 people from 2 families buried in Gaza City today in one of the largest mass funerals ever seen in the Palestinian territories.
This day is full of grief. It has reopened our wounds 3 years after this massacre. It has brought sorrow back to our children, women and sons. But our consolation is that we believe they are martyrs with God.
They also mourned adult men from the Abu Sharia family. Some of them were connected to the Mujahideen brigades, which were involved in the October the 7th killings and kidnaps of Israelis. All had been buried so deeply in the rubble that it's taken until now to dig out their remains. Another 157 are believed to be still beneath the debris of a massive Israeli strike on an apartment block in November 2023. All of Gaza is a graveyard, the innocent and the guilty interred together. The civil defense teams trying to excavate this wasteland of rubble, working with almost no tools, finding bones, not branches in the stony rubbish.
For 17 days, the civil defense crews were working on retrieving the victims. How were they identified? Some by characteristics on the bodies, which the families recognized. Others were wearing gold necklaces bearing their names. Some had surgical operations and there was metal inside their body. Some of them were identified by their clothes.
The funeral procession wound through the ruined streets of what was once a city. Even though a ceasefire supposedly came into force last October, Israel still regularly bombs Gaza. Hamas has offered to surrender its heavy weapons if Israel stopped such attacks, but no agreement has been made.
Because
Gazans still live with the presence, not just the memory of war. Another 8,000 people are believed to remain under the rubble. Israelis remember another funeral. That of the Bibas family, Mother Shiri and children.
Bro, I can't. I can't. I can't.
Israel in February last year for burial. As the remains of the 112 were lowered into their graves in Gaza today, surviving family members may feel relief because the religious rite has been fulfilled, but little hope that they will rest in peace.
Yeah, it's beyond upsetting. It is just a reminder that we are not free until Palestinians are free, and our futures are linked. And by resisting our government's contribution to this, that's our best way that we can support change in Gaza and for the Palestinians at large. And I want to, I guess, finish off by also talking about what we've been seeing about the Board of Peace, Gaza deal, Hamas disarmament proposal. Guys, my nose has been itching the whole stream. I don't know why this happens sometimes. I think maybe it's because of the way the sweat dries on my skin, but it's like inside my nose too. Maybe I need to like really blow my nose. But what we're seeing right now is that Israel is just not committing to the deal as per usual. And even if it would commit, it's just so doubtful that they will stay committed. Board of Peace says no Israeli withdrawal from Gaza before Hamas disarms. Netanyahu and board director Maldenov meet amid tensions over Gaza disarmament roadmap and recent Israeli attacks. So yeah, I had this video here that we can watch about it, and we'll go from there.
There's been no let-up in Israel's strikes on Gaza since Donald Trump's announcement of a breakthrough. Instead, signs of discord between the US president and the Israeli prime minister keep growing. A spokesperson for Benjamin Netanyahu said on Monday,
Israel has conveyed its comments and concerns on the proposed framework to our American counterparts. The version that has been made public does not reflect Israel's positions.
Following Trump's declaration on Thursday, Hamas said it would give up weapons to a new Palestinian governing committee.
Mind you, these people have the right to defend themselves under international law. These people have the right to fight back. Don't forget that.
Under the Board of Peace's plan. But Israel says anything short of full demilitarization will not be enough, claiming that its intelligence found that the group had been rearming and recruiting forces since last October's ceasefire. For its part, Israel has no intention of retreating from its current position in Gaza, as required under the peace plan.
Official, whatever this is, welcome. How you doing? Also, hi. Hi to you too.
Netanyahu is facing a tough re-election fight in October and mounting pressure from coalition partners. On Monday, two far-right ministers, Finance Chief Bezalel Smotrich and Settlements Minister Orit Strock, urged the PM not to allow the International Stabilization Force into Gaza, even though their entry was approved by the cabinet last week. As airstrikes continue, Gazans are exasperated.
We don't want talk, we want action. We're not seeing anything. On the contrary, there's more destruction, more displacement.
On Sunday, Israeli airstrikes killed 18 people in one of the deadliest days since the October ceasefire, bringing the death toll to over 1,200 since then.
It's just so shocking, the fact that Israel gets away with all of this. It's so fucking disgusting, man. Mind you, like, we just had the whole, Ceuta crossing situation that caused every fucking right-wing politician and their mom to use this as an opportunity to fucking shit on migrants, shit on Spain, shit on Muslims, shit on their version of socialism or whatever. And it's just like, meanwhile, all those right-wing leaders are super close besties with Israel, and Israel is just constantly doing this shit, man. Like, I can't, man. These politicians are not worth shit. Like, any European politician that is still supporting this after 3 years, after the decades of what Israel has been doing to Palestinians, man, get these people out of European office. I'm sick and tired of it. Get these people out of office. It's fucking ridiculous. We need some, like, again, what Pedro Sanchez is saying is the bare minimum, right? And I feel like he is very limited by the fact that he is one of the few actually taking such stances. So I do really hope that in France we can elect Jean-Luc Mélenchon, that, more countries can have prominent, like center left or left wing figures as their leaders, because this shit can just not go on. It does sometimes feel like it's too late, but you know, regardless, it needs to stop as soon as possible. The money that is being sent over there, the blind military support that's being offered, the technological, the economic and, you know, stock market support that's being offered, it it's way, way beyond anything that history will not look back on and rightly put down as one of the darkest pages in European history. Like, didn't we not just have a Holocaust last century? Like, how can Europe forget so quickly and get involved with something like this? That's beyond me, dude. It's beyond me. But, you know, there are some positives on the horizon with things like the, you know, El Sayed win in the Michigan State primary. Things like that are very good because it signals that people want something else and that people are sick and tired of the influence of like AIPAC and Israel lobbying money or other like corporation lobbying money being, you know, pumped into people's lives, right? Like ruining people's lives. Oh yeah, guys. I think that's it for today. How are you feeling, chat? Type 1 in the chat if you're feeling all right. Type 2 in the chat if you're not feeling good. Type 3 in the chat if you're feeling mysterious. If none of the above. If you're feeling a little bit different and spicy today. For me, I think I would give it the secret third option. I don't know how I'm feeling. I feel like usually I'm pretty okay, but 3, I get that. I feel like usually I'm pretty okay, but now having talked about Palestine and just reminded how fucking much work we have to do to get American and Israeli influence out of our politics here in Europe, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be pessimistic. We have to be realistic about things. And I will always be optimistic, but for now, I'll be a secret third option where I don't know what to do exactly, but I certainly won't stop fighting for a better future because that's very doable. We just need to, you know, keep organizing for it. Anyhow, the next stream, fantastic. Next stream is Saturday, guys. Heads up. It's hard not to give into despair, but it's true that there hasn't been this much support for Palestinians. But it's true that there hasn't been. Yeah, absolutely. Like that's huge, right? Like people now, by and large, are more favorable to the Palestinian position than to Israeli position. And that's a good thing because, you know, I don't think there will be an American president, at least a Democratic president, that'll be openly supporting Israel getting to power anytime soon. So they need to figure out how they're gonna tackle that one. And here in Europe, I don't know. Like again, Sanchez gets a lot of heat, but he is representing like the majority of people's opinions. Like 70% over 70% of people in Spain don't support the US-Israeli war on Iran. You know, like he does represent popular interest. So again, it's an uphill battle against the money machine and the like, you know, right-wing propaganda that's out there. But as long as we make sure that politicians are elected based on people's best interests, then that's a good direction that we need to keep going into. But yeah, I think that's it for news today. Like I said, next stream is gonna be Saturday evening. What else do I have to say? I don't know. I think overall I'm okay. What did you say? Did I answer everything? Hanging there with all the nonsense. How are you? Yeah, I'm okay. Overall, I'm okay. I feel like I just want to get back into a little bit more exercise, like, consistent. Even not even have to, it doesn't even have to be every day, but just like a little bit more consistent. But besides that, I feel pretty chill overall. Dude, I'm having this banger Minecraft world that I'm playing in. It's like a multiplayer server, but it's kind of chill. It's still PvP options and that sort of thing, but like I'm building some stuff in there, and that's also been nice. That's also been pretty cool. So yeah, shout out Minecraft. We love it. Maybe I'll play Minecraft on stream once, just for fun. We could do it on Saturday maybe, or even like a Sunday, like a bonus stream. Yeah, maybe. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for me today. Ooh, fun. Do you play Minecraft, Mr. Official or official person? I've been kind of getting back into it for the last couple weeks. I missed it. I used to play it so much when I was younger. Like I got into it, and it's great. Like there's been so much update and changes, and I feel like back in the day, like the multiplayer like server situation wasn't as refined as it is right now. Like people really have their shit together with like the server situation, and everything is so nicely done, and it's really fancy nowadays. And but still Minecraft, so it's still, you can still get as as pixelated as you want it to be. But it's looking good these days, Minecraft. I really like it. So I don't know a lot of other people that are playing it right now, but yeah, I'm really vibing with it. Sometimes mostly just watch. Also, Linton recommended your streams, and I'm glad he did. We all know he has great taste. Oh shit, you came from Linton. Nice, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, he I love that guy. He's one of the like chatters that's like always hanging out. Shout out to Linton. Yeah, it's so funny. I love it when it's like Linton in here, my mod Blue. And then there used to be, yeah, so and then there's like a couple other people that come and go, but like yeah, I love it when like Linton and Blue are in the chat, because hey, sometimes we're even making inside jokes, and that makes my whole fucking day. But that's awesome. That's cool to hear that you recommended it. Shout out. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel like slowly but surely we're making a little community, and that's great. Because yeah, for the most part, I just talk about news, like European focus, because I mean, for me, my name is Finn, and I was born and raised in the Netherlands, but like my family background is Portuguese. Right now I'm living and working in Portugal, but yeah, my whole life I went to university in the Netherlands, like everything, so I grew up there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm fascinated by the comings and goings of European news and politics, so here I am. So yeah, I usually just kind of do some deep dives on certain stories, and also go a little bit outside of it, touching on some like American topics or other regions. But sometimes, either when I don't have the time to do my research or whatever, I do some gaming streams. So we do chess, we do Minecraft, we've done a bunch of stuff. So yeah, you can always check it out on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Usually on Wednesdays I stream from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. UK time. And on Saturdays I usually stream from like 8 p.m. to midnight, something like that. Hell yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. I like it. I like it. I vibe with it. I'm a yapper, so I can yap. I can certainly yap. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me today. If you want to rewatch the broadcast, you can always check out my YouTube VOD channel. I just uploaded a little bit trimmed down, just focused on the news onto there. It's Finamy as well. And you can follow me on Instagram for some more personal life stuff, but also to get updated when I go live. And I have a Twitter, but it's just the same. I just let people know when I go live on there. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much if you checked out the broadcast. Yeah, I'll check it out. Awesome. Thank you, chatter. Much love to you, chatter. Yeah, thank you so much for the support. Like I feel like, again, like I said, like I was just explaining, like I feel like I have just people in here that come and go, and that's like the best thing ever. I think recently we've always had someone at least chatting a little bit. And that's awesome. Like, sure, I can yap for 2 hours, but it's always great when we just have a couple people in here just giving their takes on things as well. Gives me a better understanding on where your guys are at, because I can have an imaginary idea about like this person that might watch my stream, but it's just cool to see where people are at, and we go from there. So that's going to be it for today. Check back in for more on Saturday or Wednesday or whenever. That's going to be it for me. Enjoy your evening, guys. I see you in another time. Peace out, guys. That's it for today. Isn't that amazing? Thank you for the stream. Thank you for checking it out. Bye.